Well, we're not going to get a countdown, so we're
Guess
just
we're
going to
not
get
getting a
started.
countdown. I pushed it. It's not going.
See,
Well, you
like
know
we,
what? There we go. We're here. We're live.
yeah, we're here. All right,
How's
let's do
everything?
this. So, welcome to the Teachers Pep Rally, everyone. If you missed our last episode about the power of professional development, please go back and check it out on your favorite audio platform or by visiting YouTube channel, Facebook at the Teachers Pep Rally.
That's
Our
it.
guest is a motivational speaker and educational consultant. He says he was born with a purpose and fueled by passion. He believes that everyone was born with a purpose and that with the right mindset and tools, anyone can achieve greatness. Whether you're a student struggling to find your way or a professional looking to take your career to the next level or anywhere in between, get ready to be motivated. Please welcome Kyle A. Greene. Woohoo!
Welcome, welcome. There he is.
He's here. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, how are you?
We're great. We're so glad that you're here. And I think I'm just going to start it off right away and just ask you, can you tell us a little bit about, how did you become a motivational speaker and most importantly, a consultant for educators?
So the crazy thing is I had no intentions on being a motivational speaker. Like I had really no aspirations. That wasn't on my to-do list. That wasn't on my Pinterest board or anything. But I kind of just stumbled into it. So what ended up happening was, you remember when Trayvon Martin was murdered in Sanford, Florida? So I held a
Unfortunately.
rally. I called it the 1,000 Hoodie March in honor of Trayvon Martin because my son had came downstairs and he said, "Dad, I can't wear my hoodie anymore that me and his mom had got him from Old Navy." And I was like, "Why, KJ?" He said, "Because I might get killed like Trayvon Martin."
Jeez.
And so I didn't want my son to have that type of mindset, right? And I was wondering if it was other people out there who might have had that same mindset, that same type of belief. I just knew I didn't want my son thinking like that. So the crazy thing is I went on social media and I said, "Hey, what do y'all think about doing a rally for Trayvon Martin? Sin." And I woke up the next morning. That post went viral. I had hundreds of shares, hundreds of comments, hundreds of DMs, people saying, "Kyle, I'll help you do this. I'll help you do that." And so the thing is, sometimes when you put something out into the atmosphere, right? Because I'm not in a school, I wouldn't really say this because I try to not put God in church and all that. But sometimes God holds you accountable for what you put out there. And so I spoke out of my lips into the atmosphere, and then I ended up being held accountable for it. And so in 2 days, that event went viral. We get to Finley Park in Columbia, South Carolina. I was still living in Columbia at the time, and it's overcast. And so you know how we get upset with God, like, "God, why would you give me this idea? It's gonna rain. Like nobody's gonna show up. I'm gonna look like a complete idiot. Like, why would you do this?" But God has the final say so, right? Has a crazy sense of humor. So the clouds departed and the sun peeked his head in, and people came from all different parts of the park. And I originally called it the 1,000 Hoodie March. 3,700 people showed up in 2 days for a vision that I had.
Nice.
White, black, young, old, people that was in music, people that work, because I currently work at Blue Cross Blue Shield in IT, had IT people, city council, state representatives, state senators, all came because of vision that I had. So we walk around Finley Park and we get to the amphitheater and they say, "Kyle, you got to speak." I said, "Oh, no. Kyle is not a speaker." I said, No, I don't speak. I just put this together. And they say, "Nah, the people want to hear from you." So I get the mic. I said, "Hello, thank you for coming." They're like, "We can't hear you in the back." I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Thank you for coming." And I simply told them I did this rally because the media tried to pit it as a white versus a black issue. To me, I felt like it was a wrong versus a right issue. Nowhere can you kill somebody and not be held accountable for it. So I did this rally, and I got up there and spoke, and people were just like, "Man, Kyle, you brought all of these people together." It was like, "Man, you got like this bigger calling on your life. You got this bigger purpose." And so I took that national tragedy and I turned it into a personal triumph.
Beautiful.
Gosh, that is such a beautiful story. I did not know all of that. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing it. And it's interesting. I'd like to just kind of talk to people as I'm out and about and just learn what people are doing. And sometimes you say something you just think off the cuff and all of a sudden it turns into this meaningful conversation. And not only do we just have that right now, some of the things that you said, I feel motivated in many ways, but also it reminds me of a conversation the other day that I had with someone where they were talking about, and this is what I feel like you did. I happened to see a tattoo on their arm that I really, really loved. and it was this cliff with ocean, and it was like someone was getting ready to jump off of it. And he starts going into the reason why he got the tattoo.
Wow.
And it ended up being that ever since he got that, it was a reminder to himself of just a leap of faith, whatever that means, right? Or just
Nice.
taking a moment, and when you finally are your true self, or you finally decide to just let go of whatever and not worry about all the other stuff that's going on, but you just are going on the right path. He's like, it's unbelievable how things start to come to you positively,
Yes.
right? And then expands, and here you are telling me that same thing. So that is so cool.
Yeah. And it's crazy how it happened, because I really had no intention. So then afterwards, somebody was like, Kyle, you need to go hear this guy speak. It was Charmaine. And she said, Kyle, you need to hear this guy speak. His name is Manny Scott. I went and heard him speak. He had a professional speaking academy that he was launching. I was the first person that signed up. I was the first person that graduated. It was 52 weeks. And on week like 37, he was like, Kyle, I think you're ready. And I just kind of like a leap of faith. I jumped out, and here I am today. Now I speak all over the country.
Nice.
I motivate students. I inspire educators. I challenge students. I challenge educators to believe in the potential for greatness that's inside of every single one of them.
And I'm wondering, when you started doing this, the education part, because I think that's a great place, a foundation of where we should be all as a community supporting students, whether you're in education or not. I just think that that's just a really great way for us to make sure the next generation feels supported and has diversity and gets a voice and gets to hear other voices. So I'm curious from you, why do you think it landed so well with you going out there and starting to support staff and students? Like, why do you think that was such a hit?
Because for one, my story, when I go speak at schools, when I go speak with educators at schools, I often tell them the most powerful thing that you have is your story. Your story is your currency. And what I do is I spend my currency all across the country sharing my story. So when I go into a school and I tell students my mom was on drugs when I was a kid growing up, I hated my mom because she never came to any of my football games. She never came to any of my basketball games. When I got to high school, I was an AB honor roll student. She never came to any award ceremonies. Like, my mom never showed up for anything. My dad was a decent man, but my father lived in the next town over. So I didn't have the luxury of having my father or my mom in the home. I didn't learn how to read until I got into the 8th grade. My grandmother on my dad's side taught me how to read one summer. I went to go stay with them. And that changed the whole trajectory of my life.
Yes.
I had my daughter when I was 16 in the 10th grade. I found out that I was having a kid in the 9th grade. My elderly grandmother raised me after raising all of her kids. She was born in 1918. She had a boatload of kids. She raised me and my sister. So when I go into a school and I share that story with students, it connects to students because students are going through so much all over the country. It doesn't matter if I'm in rural Tennessee, rural South Carolina. It doesn't matter if I'm in an urban city like Houston, Texas, or my students in Newark, New Jersey. Like, students are going through a lot. So when they hear my story and they hear how I overcame and I went through everything that I went through and made it, it gives them hope. And at the end of the day, we are in a country where people just need to feel hopeful about something, especially our students. So when I talk to teachers and I say, share a part of your story. You don't have to share your entire story like I do. You don't have to be as completely vulnerable as I am, but your story is your currency. And students appreciate and they value that. So the reason why mine hit like it did was because they heard my story. My mom was on drugs. My dad wasn't in the home. I couldn't read until I was in the 8th grade. But then I tell them, I stand before you, I'm an Amazon best-selling author. I was a kid who couldn't read. Now I got a book that impacts literacy all over the country. And I say, if I did it, I can only imagine what you can do in your life, because I'm no different than any of y'all. Matter of fact, my life was probably more difficult than a lot of y'all. So if I made it, you can make it too. So when they hear that, it just gives them hope.
Yeah. So the mentality changer, it makes me think about mindset. So how do you get people to start thinking about their mindset, especially young minds, to start being open to then the next level, which is where you start talking to them about their greatness, finding their greatness, right? I would think it first starts with the mindset, then they're open to maybe hearing that. So how do you work with students to try to get them to start changing that mindset?
So first, you got to get them to understand that it's two types of mindset, right? First, I got to teach it. So, and I do that when I do small sessions. I talk about you have something called a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. A growth mindset means you really focus on the power of yet. I don't care what you can't do now. You can't do it like you can do it. Like you got to believe in it might not happen today, but if I keep practicing, if I keep trying, like I may conquer that one day. The power of yet. And then I talk about a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset simply says, man, I was born like this. I'm going to die like this. I can't change. I can't get better. Nothing ever. I'll just always stay like this. And so I tell them I have a growth mindset and a fixed mindset about certain things, right? When it comes to believing in my potential for greatness, growth mindset. When it comes to helping people, growth mindset. When it comes to being an amazing father, growth mindset. But when it comes to trying new food, I got a fixed mindset. Some stuff I just don't like. Like I'm not going to try anything that says 2%. I'm not going to try anything that says low fat. Like I have a fixed mindset when it comes, like I've never tried sushi. I don't even know if I like sushi. I think I don't like it, but I've never tried it. So I have like a fixed mindset when it comes to certain stuff. So I get students to understand that it doesn't matter if you have a fixed mindset about certain things like I do when it comes to food, long as you have a growth mindset about the things that are really important to you, which right now is being a very good student. It's about being respectful to your teachers. It's about doing the right things when nobody is watching. It's about standing up for something and not just fall for anything. Because I tell students the easiest thing that you can do right now as a student is to follow the crowd and do what everybody else is doing. Somebody vaping in the bathroom, you vape in the bathroom just because you think that that's the cool thing to do. A fixed mindset tells you, everybody else doing it, so I'm going to do it. A growth mindset says, maybe I shouldn't do this. That's technically not right. My mom or my dad might not approve of this. So I try to get them to see stuff from a different perspective, but I try to give them both perspective to say, you want to be a winner, you want to be a loser. You want to fail, you want to win. Like, so, that's kind of how I see fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And I kind of give them the tools, some strategies to really like change how they see themselves. Because that's the thing that's one of the most important things about a student. Some of them, they haven't really discovered themselves yet. So they don't really know how they see themselves. They only see themselves by what they see on social media, the imposter syndrome. So they think somebody got money because they post a picture holding up money, talking about money calling. No. That's somebody flexing. They capping. That don't mean they have a whole lot of money. People with a whole lot of money, Jeff Bezos, I've never seen him say money calling. He's never did that before. People who see stuff on social media, they try to emulate that, especially students. So I try to get them to have this growth mindset about that's just what people want you to think. That's not really who they are. So I try to build up their self-belief, their self-confidence, their self-awareness, to know that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
Aaron, this is awesome. A lot of the stuff we've talked about before, and just to hear somebody else saying it in such an amazing way, so powerful. We've talked about over and over how a class instantly can sniff out who's authentic and who's not. Yes. And our guest tonight, it doesn't get more authentic than this, right? And then also the importance of storytelling. We've talked about it over and over and over. Put us on the same level. Let's share what we have in common. Let's celebrate what we don't. Let's learn about each other and do it through storytelling.
Yeah. The great poet Steve Jobs once said, "You're supposed to laugh because Steve Jobs isn't a poet." I
didn't want to. I take back what I just said.
See, Steve Jobs once said, he said the most powerful person is the storyteller. Like they set the vision and the agenda of an entire generation. Like the person that can share a story. The reason why an iPhone is so popular, the iPad is so popular, the MacBook is so popular, is because Steve Jobs was able to share the story about why you wanted an Apple product. Like he was able to convince that and convey through storytelling why you needed to have an iPhone. And if you can convey to students who you are, your authentic self, if you can share with them what you believe in, where you came from, how you overcame your setbacks, your situations, because a lot of times students don't think that we were once kids. So when I say, yo, I used to play football in high school, Mr. Kyle, you played football in high school? Yes. And I was really good. I used to play basketball and ran track. Like I was on the yearbook staff. I was in 4-H. I was in the National Honor Society. Like, so when they hear those things, they say, bro, you know different than me.
Yep.
Like, I'm just 42 and you were 14. Like, but I've been where you were. So being your authentic self, sharing your story, man, is a powerful thing. And once you do that, you create these meaningful relationships with students. And once you create meaningful relationships, you create these connections, and those connections then help to build trust. And once you build trust, these kids will do absolutely anything for you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great. So relationships, they really do matter. And like Pete said, but you got to be authentic. They can sniff it out right away if you're
Yes.
not, right?
Yes.
The thing too, sometimes I get like these inspirational ideas when I'm hearing someone speak, and you know, I think this generation and the younger generations also, they don't maybe realize it, but social media is our platforms to build stories, right? Thinking about what kind of story you want to tell about yourself and what you're posting. And so I think you're tapping into something that is already such a part of their culture, such a
Yes.
part of their everyday, right, youth, that I think that's really powerful, to get them to also kind of realize, are you following people who are all doing the same thing? Or are you following people who seem to be authentic, unique? What are the characteristics or the values that you seem to be attracted to? And maybe start there and thinking about what you could do if that's something that you want, right?
Yeah. That's so
Yeah,
good. So
I love
good.
it. So I think I had mentioned to you before that our listeners love lists. And so you kind of hinted at a little bit, but for our educators that are out there listening, what are some ways that we can develop the right mindset to inspire the students to come to school ready to learn?
So I'm really big. I do a lot. And so in the end of each journey, I don't call them chapters in my book, right? I call them journeys. I believe journeys get you to a destination. So when you read a journey and you get to the end of the destination, I ask reflective questions about what you read. So I believe teachers, educators, they can practice daily reflections. Start each day with like a mindset check-in. Like where are you mentally? How are you feeling? Like let's self-reflect on what your day has been going like. What have you been experiencing? And again, it could be something like really quick. What I like to do when I go into school, especially when I do small group sessions, I just left Westwood High School and I was working with students all throughout the day. They're freshman academy. And what I had them do was I would say, what does potential, the word potential, what does that mean to you? I said, I don't want this to feel like a class. I said, but write me down one sentence of what that means to you. So they write down one sentence and then I'll popcorn it around there, share it. So have practice daily reflection with the students. Get them to be able to express what they're going through, because they might be going through something and you have no idea. You just come check the attendance and then you just start teaching. Now let's see how you're doing, and then we can get to the lesson. Number 2 is embrace the yet mentality. Even as teachers, like it's so hard because you be like, man, they not getting it, and you getting so frustrated. And now you upset, but like it's good to embrace the mentality of yet. Like they haven't learned it yet. And with that, you also need to, so this is 2B, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace, man. Like you're doing an awesome job. Teachers, I love teachers, man. The world wouldn't be what it is today if it hasn't been for teachers. Some of the world's most amazing leaders, our presidents, they all had a favorite teacher that inspired them, that impacted their life. So give yourself some grace to know that, man, they probably just didn't get it yet, but that doesn't make you a bad teacher. And I hate seeing teachers get so frustrated when a student or a class, when they may not get to where they think that they should be at. Like just give sometimes, it's okay to give yourself some grace, cultivate a level of patience and grace. And I think that those things that help get you and help not just your students, but it'll help get you to that growth mindset, because you can't expect your students to have a growth mindset if you still operate with a fixed mindset. So I think it kind of has to be both ways. I think teachers have to operate with the growth mindset when it comes to their classroom. And I think they have to have students operate in that same type growth mindset, and that comes with creating a culture. Like, you have a school culture, but within each classroom, you should have some type of subculture that you build, whether it's a culture of inclusivity, whether it's a culture of a growth mindset, whether it's a culture of respect, collaboration, community. Like, what culture are you building within your classroom to give you that growth mindset within yourself and your students?
I love that you recognize educators. We do tend to be hard on ourselves,
Yes.
right? Um, Sometimes there's a lot going on depending on the year, depending on the classroom, depending on the administrators, right? Like, it just depending on what's going on in our society, right? Sometimes are rougher than others. And I think I've heard a lot of times, even from myself or fellow educators, that man, I'm just not making it, or it's just not going great. And so I like, Kyle, this, and yet, like, in my mind, if I had heard you say this, I'm thinking of several years ago when I was having a really tough year, really tough year with some students. It just was a crazy mix. There was nothing wrong with the kiddos. It just was, we were struggling for when we were all together in a classroom. They were huge classrooms that year. I had about 35 to 47 periods of classes, grading essays, a lot of personalities sometimes, just, you know, a little bit of, what is it, oil and water. So if I had heard, and yet, I think that would have changed my mental state a little bit better,
Yeah.
right? To just be, you know, other people were saying things similar to that, but for some reason it just didn't click with me. But I think if we can say, it helps us to recognize where we're at and say it out loud and celebrate that, whatever that is, but then also say, and yet, and then now you're going into that growth mindset that you just said,
Right.
right? Like, not all the students are meeting the standard right now where I thought they would be in this lesson. And yet we still have time. And even so and so got it today, which was a huge win. Right.
See, I'm so big on, like, I wear wristbands with affirmations. When I go into school, I teach kids about affirmations, and then I give them wristbands to really remind them. So one bracelet that I wear is get 1% better every day. And so I was reading this book, The Diary of a CEO, I think that's the name of the book. I recently read it. And in the book, it talked about, or maybe it was in Atomic Habits. I think it's in Atomic Habits, what I'm reading now. He talked about getting 1% better every day. And so oftentimes, man, we want to get, like, we want 50% growth. We want 70% growth. And our research says if you get 1% better every single day, by the end of the year, you're 37 times better than you were when you got started. And so if teachers can realize, I might not get the whole class in the week, right? But if I get 10 of the 18 students, and the next week I get 4 more, and then now I'm 4 in the whole, like, if we make incremental progress, like, incremental progress is better than no progress. And I don't want teachers stressing themselves out, can't go to sleep, feeling upset because they trying to grow, like, these massive, like, get 1% better every single day.
Yeah. And Pete laughs, but I think you're right. And I think sometimes
I
our
agree.
school districts, our leaders, I think that that's a great way that you just explained it, because I think sometimes the expectation is different, or maybe we feel like it is and it's not really. I think 1% every day is a lot more realistic than sitting in, say, like a professional development for the day, and all of a sudden you're kind of being told to change 50%, right? Like, that's probably not going to happen, only because it takes a while for your brain, your muscle memory, your body to start absorbing the newness, right?
Yep.
Or the change or the growth. So you're right. Let's set some realistic expectations, right? And steps, which is what, you know, is part of the journey, as you put it, right?
Part of the grind, part of the journey. You got to embrace the process. Some people, they want instant success. We are in this instant society where we want things to happen, like, we want to put it in the microwave and we want it to just happen. Like, Aaron, you know what? If I went to sleep right now, like, I wish I had my 6-pack back, right? I would, if I could do 100 push-ups tonight, Pete,
Yeah.
and wake up in the morning and have a 6-pack, I would do a 200 push-up. 200 sit-ups. But I know that that's not going to happen. And so we be wanting these ungodly like expectations and results to happen like overnight. And that's just not how like the law of numbers works. That's just not how like the world works.
Kyle, if you know that magic number that I need to do tonight, I'm more than willing to try.
For the 6-pack.
Dude, I'm on board with every single word you're saying. 100%.
I don't know the number, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I would already did it.
Matt, yeah, I hear you. But no, seriously, everything you're saying, it's so authentic and powerful. And gosh, any school district, any group of teachers, students that are hearing you, that's quite a gift.
Yeah, and
hold on. I gotta pause for a second. So I see my two good friends. So I see Dr. Brandy Brotherton. So she is in Houston, Texas. They in A-Leaf ISD, and I see Dr. Alicia Kerr. She's in Houston, Texas, A-Leaf ISD. Dr. Kerr. So Dr. Brotherton, she just did this 75-day challenge where she worked out 75 straight days. And I remember she said, Kyle, you should try this. I got today like number maybe 8 consecutive days, right? And I just stopped. I said, oh my God, 75 days. I'm nowhere near. Like that just felt like such a big number. And but then I told myself, I said, Kyle, you can't do 75 straight days of working out, right? But don't miss a day. Like I didn't want to become so intimidated by the 75 days that I stopped working out for 7 straight days. I said, Kyle, the trick that I want you to do is to try to not miss another day. So if I missed a day, don't miss 2 days back to back. So sometimes I think even if we don't meet the mark, just give ourselves some expectation. I see them laughing in the group. Yeah, she gets up at 4 a.m. every morning to work out.
4 a.m.
But that's one of the things I was going to say is, when people feel comfortable, whether it's your colleagues, like you've got going on here, if you feel comfortable about sharing with people what you're trying to do, there's nothing better than having what we call a trusted tribe, right? Of people to keep you motivated, to check in on you. How's it going? Are you step by step for your goal? Oh, you're frustrated? Remember, we talked about you can't make it happen all at once. I think that's a little bit of Kyle, like the purpose of when we started this in 2020 was we felt like we wanted to have more conversations like this. And yeah, like Brandy said, accountability. And shout out, by the way, to Houston ISD. Love what you all have been doing. I often use you as a benchmark at my own school district when we're looking at things. So very cool. You're surrounded, obviously, and not surprisingly, Kyle, but by very good company.
Oh yeah. They great people. Great people. Y'all might have to get them on the show next. Dr. Kerr and Dr. Brotherton, they doing some phenomenal things and they're in Houston, but they're in A-Leaf ISD.
Okay, great. Yeah, reach out to us and we would love to have you on. Let's see what we can get you to talk about that you're passionate about for educators. All right, so Pete and I are kind of all over the place because you're talking about some exciting stuff. So let me ask you, in your experience, what common barriers tend to prevent students from realizing their potential?
Man, that's a really good question. So one barrier that I think often stops students is self-doubt. Like some of them don't have any belief. And so when I go into schools, like when I was in Westwood today, I was telling the students, because I talked to them about, and this crazy thing is this session is on potential. I was talking to them about your potential for greatness. How will you be remembered? What will your legacy be, right? And so I was saying, you're going to learn what's 2 + 2. You're going to learn who Christopher Columbus discovered America. You're going to learn Pythagorean theorem. You're going to learn PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I still don't like Aunt Sally. I said, but what you're going to get from this session, what you're going to get from this session is going to prepare you for life. Like it's going to prepare you for life. So I love when the schools bring me in to do small groups because it helps get out that mundane, like school fractions, that perpendicular angle. Those kids, they first came in, they said, man, did I get in trouble? Why am I in here? By the time they left, they were giving me fist pumps saying, yo, this has been the best class I had all year. Like I talked about like legacy. I talked about what is potential. I said, man, everything, I'm going to do this example real quick. So in my hand, I got a glow stick, and maybe I should just call it a stick because it's currently not serving its purpose. I told the students everything that this glow stick needs to reach its fullest potential to operate in its purpose is currently found where? And they said on the inside. I said, good job. So that means it's self-reliant. That means it doesn't need anybody else. I said the thing about a glow stick is this. They were created in 1961 by a scientist. His name was Dr. Edwin Chandros. He was a mathematician, a chemist. And he created glow sticks because he was fascinated by fireflies. He couldn't understand how fireflies could give off a natural light. He went into a lab, and then one day he found the 3 chemicals needed for glow sticks to work. So one is called oxalate ester. The second one is called fluorescent dye. The third one is called hydrogen peroxide. That's in that glass vial. When it's broken and the chemicals mix together, it causes something that's called chemoluminescence. So we just did a science project. I said, the thing about a glow stick is this. It doesn't serve its purpose. It doesn't reach its fullest potential until it's first broken. I say some of y'all have everything that you need on the inside, but you will not feel your fullest potential for greatness, or you'll never walk into your purpose until you are first broken. Luckily for me, I told them I had teachers who saw my potential for greatness, and they were willing to help me break open what I already have on the inside. I discovered my gifts, my talents, the things that I was really good at, my interests. Once I broke open what I had, I said, so on a count of 3, we're going to take our glow stick and we're going to break it to symbolize us breaking open what we already have on the inside. I said Taylor Swift didn't have to go to Target to get her singing and entertainment ability. I said LeBron James didn't have to go to Walmart to get his basketball skills. It was already on the inside. I said some of y'all just need to be broken. I said, so let's break our glow sticks. 1, 2, 3. So we broke our glow stick, right? And I say now the purpose in which this glow stick was created is now being served. But at first it was just a stick, not serving its purpose. So I think when we talk with students, right, when we meet them like that, when we do a fun example like that, it shows them that, man, you know what? I do have that potential for greatness on the inside. I do have something special. I do have gifts. I do have talents. And I think at the end of the day, when we meet students like that, right, that's where we really like impact and make true difference in their lives.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I love that example. And I would say, we're at this 113th episode.
It's our 113th journey, Aaron.
113th journey. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
And I would say the thing that we keep hearing as a pattern that you really exemplified is that the secret sauce is the human connection, right?
Yes.
Once you can make that happen, whether it's academics, whether it's behavior, I think someone in here was saying, Dr. B is the culture queen, right? I'm talking about culture. Once you can elevate that and make that a safe, encouraging space, then I feel like everything else kind of comes together. And that's why, Kyle, someone like you is great, because we can't all do it alone, right? Like
Right.
we just can't. I'm going back to the idea of that community thing. So having you there as someone who, the kids can relate to, or just to hear some kind of other thing like what you just did with the glow stick, we all have to hear something in a different way for it to connect.
Yep.
It's about those connections. I
1,000%.
love that so much. I love it so much. Okay, so you talked about your journey of growth. How do you see then teachers, I guess, finding what's inside of them? Because we kind of talked about students, but how have you been able to kind of help teachers or even schools or school districts to find that potential in themselves of greatness?
So I often challenge educators, right? I'll say the reason why you got into education is because somebody led you. Like you had a teacher that really impacted you. Like somebody made a difference in your life. And I say you almost owe it to the next generation to pay it forward. So I look at it almost as a pay it forward type of relationship. The reason why I pour into students the way that I do is because my mentor, Reverend Senator Clemente Pinckney, he poured into my life. Like he mentored me. And the thing about Senator Pinckney is this. So this is another tragic national issue that happened that really changed my life. So Senator Pinckney was the guy, y'all might have heard of this, on June the 17th, 2015. Y'all remember a kid walked inside of a church in Charleston, South Carolina, and shot and killed everybody?
Yes.
So Reverend Senator Pinckney was my mentor. We from the same hometown. So I heard him speak in my high school when I told him that I was about to have a daughter in the 9th grade. He said, yo, Kyle, I don't care about the mistakes that you make. All I care about is what you plan to do with the rest of your life. So he took me under his wing. He was murdered on a Friday. We were supposed to have lunch on that Wednesday. He really showed me what success looked like. And so I remember seeing him. I'm from a small town. I don't come from a whole lot. I see my homeboy Justin in here from back home. He know where we can't come from. I don't come from a whole lot. And so he poured into me. Now it's my responsibility to pour it back into others. So teachers, it's a teacher that impacted you. You had a favorite teacher that led you to education. It's almost imperative to you to become another student's favorite teacher and then help change the trajectory of their life. Because once you change family trajectories, you change like outcomes, you change poverty levels. Like you can do so much when you pour back, when you pay it back forward. And then I challenge teachers to always remember your why. Like why you got into education? What led you here? What was your motivation to get here? And once you always kind of lead with your why, you understand your what. You understand what you were called to do. You understand why you were chosen, because many are called, few are chosen. And I think when you are given this opportunity to really just impact a student's life, man, you just really make a difference. Like teachers changed the trajectory of my life. I would not be the man that I am today had it not been for my teachers. And I had some amazing coaches. I had some amazing like mothers in my church, my grandmother, my family, like they were super amazing. But I had and I think somebody in here said it, Justin, he said it takes a village. Like it took a village to get me to where I am today. So I think teachers, man, like never forget your why, never forget what you were called to do, and don't take it lightly, because the next president might be sitting inside of your classroom. The next Bill Gates is probably sitting inside of your classroom. The next Tyler Perry, they may not really be good academically, right? But they're so creative. Like tap into their creativeness. Like find other ways. Don't just always be beholden to a test. Like I know we get the results that we need from tests, but find ways to see their greatness and acknowledge that, because they might not always do good on the test, but they might do good on a project where they have to draw something or they might have to act out something. I think teachers who remember their why and understand their why, they never forget like the bigger picture.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that story about your mentor. And I'm sorry about his loss, but I can so hear the things that he instilled in you being carried on. So
Yeah.
thank you. And you know, it's interesting, Kyle, that you talked about, you know, making sure to kind of remember how an educator made a difference in your life, and educators kind of remembering to do that and lift each other up. So we did start this year a hotline actually. So if anyone who's listening right now live, or if you're listening to this later and you would also like to share a teacher story like Kyle just did, you can call. We have a number. It's 470-227-0TPR. And it really is just to hear about how educators made a difference in your life. I think if we lift up those stories and narratives, we will model for each other and really get it out there and remind each other what we're trying to do here for students. Kyle, I can't thank you enough for coming to talk to us. This has been beyond a sweet conversation. And, you know, we've had a lot of people in here celebrating you and saying how you've done already such great work for them and help them out. So I think that that's a testament to what you're trying to do. So if anyone wants to connect with you, how can they find you?
Like on Instagram is Kyle Speaks, Twitter is Kyle Speaks, LinkedIn is Kyle A. Greene. My email is Kyle A is an awesome Greene with an E at the end.com. So yeah, I use the awesome on my answer machine too. I'm like, you just reached Kyle A. Greene. The A is for awesome. Nah, not really. My mom, she named me Aubrey, but I feel awesome one today. Everybody be like, Kyle, change that voicemail.
That's the affirmation right there, right?
Right.
That's great. I love that so much. And Pete, how can people continue the conversation with us?
Hey, friends, wherever you're listening to us, please give us a review, like, subscribe, follow on YouTube. We're here, Facebook group, our Instagram, our website, teacherpeprally.com. And this is what a lot of pep at the rally tonight, Aaron. A lot of pep at the rally. And Aaron, what do we have coming up? I think we have a big event on the 28th.
Yeah, October 28th, we have a free webinar. I call it a webinar, but it's really like a web shop because there's going to be some engagement. We're going to have participants working along with us. It will be, you need to register. It's Leading with Purpose, and it's going to be hosted by us, the Teachers Pep Rally, and also our good friends with Lead It Like Lasso. There is a book giveaway, so you might win this leadership book. If you're interested in registering, go to our Facebook page. There's a post on there. Pete just showed it on the YouTube video and live Facebook. You can do the QR scan. And Fred added it to our website. So if you go to our menu on the teacherspeprally.com, you can look for the webinar there. Kyle, thank you so much. This has been quite the pleasure, and I'm very hopeful that we will do some collaboration with you in the future.
Good. And I just want to say, man, before we hop off, thank y'all. Thank the platform. It's people like you who like give someone like me a chance. It's people like, again, Dr. Brotherton. It's people like Dr. Kerr, like people who brought me into their districts and didn't even know who I was, and then saw the impact that I have on their students. So I'm forever grateful to you, Pete, to you, Aaron, for your platform and just extending it to me, man. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank
Absolutely.
you for all
You're welcome back anytime.
Anytime. All right, everybody. Good night.
Have a good one.